Hi everyone, welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. Another pre-match live stream, got Tottenham at home today. Paul joining us in a moment, but I figured I'd get the stream up and running and get a few viewers in before he comes in. Before we'll get started then. Let's see if we've got anyone joining in yet. Obviously, as well, guys, we've got the team news coming up in 5 minutes, so me and Paul will be reacting to that as we always do. If you're a regular on these live streams, you'll know how they go by now. Hello to Stephen Thomas, who is joined and is in the chat. Hello, Stephen. Nice to see you in the chat, mate. Thank you for supporting us. Make sure, as you're coming in, guys, make sure you're dropping a like on the stream. Really helps out the channel. Really does, really helps us to get more content out there. We know what you like and what you don't like. So, hello to Stephen Thomas. If you got any more, guys, if you're just joining, leave a comment. I'll shout you out, say hello to you. A Friday night game, which is an interesting one. It's been a while since that. But I like the Friday night ones. They can ruin your weekend or they can make them brilliant. Hello to Ty Hodges. Thanks for joining the stream, mate. Hope you're having a nice day. Hope Everton make it better. He said Toffees, let's just hope it gets better tonight, and we can improve on the absolute shambles that was the Brighton game. Not shambles, but it was just boring, wasn't it? Really, and it'd be good to see if we can improve on that in this one. It's going to be hard. Like Stephen Thomas says, 5-4 to Everton, so he's going for a repeat of the cup game. Funny enough, I think this will be like 1-0. To someone this game, or it'd be something like that. I was on Tobes, the Tottenham supporter. I was on his channel yesterday talking about it, and he said I said 3-1 to Tottenham on that, and I think you should probably just about have too much for us, but Everton do surprise you. They did surprise us in the cup game, didn't they? So no reason we could do it again today. Anyone else in the chat? If you're in there, you're loitering about and you've just joined, feel free to leave a comment and I will answer it. Any questions for me and, of course, Paul, who's going to be joining us in a moment. But how's it going, guys? How's your Friday been? What you've been up to? What are you up to this weekend as well? Obviously, more stuff back open now. Nice to see the world getting a bit more normal every single day. And, let us know what you're up to this weekend. It'd be nice. It'd be a nice little icebreaker to start the stream off. Just let us know what you're up to. Really, obviously, no football. Well, for us anyway, we can watch it, but we can't go. Let me just tweet that we're live. Actually, I always forget to do that. And then of course we'll get it going. Hello to B Animation. Hi B Animation. I actually watched a couple of your videos. Doing really well at the moment. But hello, thank you for joining the stream. It's good to see you in again. I hope you do enjoy it. Just a quiet start to it before Paul gets in. We're chatting all things about this game. Going to be trying to pick it apart and trying to talk about a couple of the main talking points really. Harry Kane. We're going to be talking about Brighton and Palace, the last couple of games. Ancelotti and Mourinho. Yerry Mina is on the agenda. Gabaman is on the agenda. Decore. And of course, we want to get your memories of your games against Tottenham. So if you can help me out, guys, leave in your comments about your memories of games against Tottenham. And also your players who've played for both Everton and Tottenham during the stream. And if you've got any and put them in the chat, I'll read them out. And be a nice little fun thing for us to do during the stream. It's always a good one. These nice little pre-match ones will be live until kickoff, which is in an hour now. Exactly an hour now. And we should be getting the team up in a moment. Let me just tweet that with 1 sec, guys. There we go. Right, okay. Tweeted that we're live. I'll get the team news out as well before here it is, and then I'll put it on the screen for you. So the team is Pickford, Holgate, Godfrey, Keane, Luca Dean, Alan, Davies, Sigurdsson, Iwobi, Rodriguez, and Richarlison. A little bit different to the last game. Interested to see what happens. Erwin Koeman, hello, Erwin. Thanks for joining the stream again, mate. Pleasure to see you. Yeah, how's your day been, mate? And what are you up to this weekend? Nice to see you back in the stream again. Let me just put that up on the screen. We've got Paul joining us.
You all right,
okay, mate?
Yeah, mate. Has the team come out? Because I haven't seen it. We're on 7 o'clock
Just
bang
now,
on, aren't we? So
yeah, I'll read it out to you if you want. It's Pickford in goal. The defence looks to be Holgate, Godfrey, Keane, and Luca Dean, which is like the back four with Holgate on the right. Alan and Davis in the middle together. Sigurdsson, Iwobi, and Rodriguez, and Richarlison. So you can pick it apart. Like, it's nice to see Alan and Davis in midfield together. That's probably a bonus. It's nice. There might be a bit more energy in there tonight. Andre Gomez isn't even on the bench, and I know he has been ruled fit, but he's not on the bench. Sigurdsson's captain. Iwobi, it looks like, is going to be on the right or something like that, with maybe Rodriguez either on the left or playing off him. So what do you think of that? I'll put it on the screen as well for you guys that are just joining in.
did you say Andre Gomez is not on the bench?
He's not on the bench at all now.
Is Joshua King?
Yes, he is.
If he can't start, mate, when Ancelotti's said that he's fit and Calvert-Lewin's not in the squad, and if he's fit and Calvert-Lewin's not there and they still don't play him, then I think that tells us all we need to know about him. He's clearly not.
Head scratcher, in it. Makes you wonder how bad he is in training.
He's clearly, they've had a look at him and they've just decided he's not at Carlo's cup of tea, because Carlo, you'd think, would give him a run in a game. But obviously, as you said, there must be something in training that they don't like. And I think it's very clear now that he's not getting kept on past the summer, which no harm, is it? I mean, we brought him on a 6-month deal to see if he could basically do anything to merit us giving him a long-term contract, and obviously he hasn't. So it just means we have to go out and buy another striker in the summer now.
Are you surprised by that? Because I expected him to sort of be a bit better than he was when he came in.
I'm surprised he's not played more, but I'm not surprised that we decided we're not going to keep him, because I've never really been overly impressed with him. I mean, I don't think he's a bad player. I didn't see him as a sort of a top half level striker. I just thought he was one of these sorts of journeymen where they're probably good enough to play in the Premier League, down the lower echelons of it. You know, they could get a game for the teams that are going to be down scrapping for relegation, like he did when he was with Bournemouth. He was a starter there. He's a player who, in the right system and the right players around him, playing under a manager who believes in him, that maybe could knock in a good amount of goals in a season, maybe get double figures, but he's never ever going to be a 15-plus striker, is he? And that's probably what we're going to need now as a backup / competition to Calvert-Lewin. So I thought we would see more of him, but
yeah, it's tough because he hasn't even started the game, has he? And I was expecting him, if we've decided on him, I can understand that, and if he hasn't done it, but it surprises me that he just hasn't played at all, because I know it's a 6-month deal, and it was pretty much a win-win, wasn't it? If he did well, then he did well, and we could have kept him, and if he did badly, then we could have got rid of him easily. But I would have thought he would have at least started a couple of games, because we obviously signed him with absolutely no knowledge of him, and I sound like a broken record here talking about him. I always said that it would have been a really good signing 5 or 6 years ago, when maybe in Lukaku's last season, or maybe right after Lukaku left, it would have been a decent signing. But even up until last season, I think he played quite well against us for Bournemouth in that last home game where we were absolutely horrendous. Don't know if you can remember it.
I can.
Well, it does, yeah. It's hard to forget, isn't it? But it does. I'm actually really surprised about it with how his Everton career's gone, if you can even call it a career.
I think it's obvious that he's not a player Ancelotti's asked us to go out and get, is it? It's a target that Brands has identified and has just kind of, I don't want to say forced on the manager, but he's kind of just brought him in and said to the manager, look, obviously we're going to get rid of Tosin. We don't want to leave you short. This is the only guy we can get for you in this window, January.
And he's gone all right, yeah.
Yeah, and he's gone. All right, fair enough. Get him in. I'll have a look at him, and I'll make my minds up. And he's made his minds up. But I don't believe for 1 second that we as a club, whether it was Ancelotti, Brands, or whatever, that we signed him expecting a certain thing, and then when he's got here, we've been left disappointed by him, thinking,
yeah, I think the
yeah,
club have done quite well in the way they've conducted it, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't believe it's a case of he's been poorly scouted, or it's not an assay where we come in expecting him to be good, and then we get him in training, and we think, oh my god, what have we signed here? It's really just one of those things where we've had a look around on the deadline day in January, saw he was the only realistic option we could get, and we've decided that it's probably better to just bring him in and hope he can do something rather than just go it alone with Calvert-Lewin until the end of the season.
So. To be honest, he was the perfect replacement for Cenk Tosun because he's done the exact same amount as he did. It's just, I don't know, it does feel a bit like, yeah, they were quite smart about it. I remember on deadline day, a couple of people were quite critical of him, and when he came in, I just thought he would play a little bit, but it's obvious that in training he must be absolutely awful, mustn't he? And which surprises me because I've always rated Josh King as a footballer, and I thought he would have suited us quite well with the counter-attacking system. But even when he's come on, I know he's not played much football, but when he comes on, he looks much slower than what I'm used to watching from him. And although he held onto the ball a bit, he looked a lot slower. He looked like he got slower.
It's just, there's got to be something that we don't know about as supporters. There must be something behind the scenes that's made Ancelotti just not trust him, clearly. And I'm willing to trust Ancelotti still. Ancelotti knows a good player when he sees one, and he knows a player he can't use when he sees one. And he's obviously ran his eye over Josh King and decided that he just doesn't fit into his plans, not even in the short term for this season. So good luck to the fellow when he inevitably leaves in the summer. I'm convinced he will if he can't even get a game tonight. So
he'll probably end up abroad or something.
Wherever he goes, it just means that we're back to square one in the summer, because I know Ancelotti said today that Moise Keane's coming back to Everton, and it doesn't matter whether he wants to stay at PSG or not. He's coming back to Everton unless we decide otherwise. I think that's a negotiating tactic. I don't believe for 1 second Ancelotti or anyone else at the club thinks that Moise Keane's going to come back for us and be a part of our long-term future. I think they all know that it's not worked and that Keane's better off going to PSG and we're better off just taking the money. But they're saying certain things in the media to make sure that PSG stump up the cash to get the deal done.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. It feels like it's going to be a big summer, doesn't it? Even if we don't. I mean, obviously we want to invest heavily, and I think we need a few players, obviously, but there's been like the quote about was not going for a striker or a midfielder, hasn't there? Which is a bit, don't know if it's slightly concerning or whatever. I'll try and find the quote and we'll talk about it a bit later on. Hello to James Brinkley. Thanks for joining the stream again, James. Hope you've had a nice Friday, mate, and Everton can hopefully top it off with a win tonight. He wants to know about Josh King, and yeah, we've just said before, it's testament to how bad his Everton career has been when he was brought in to replace Calvert-Lewin when he's not fit, and when Calvert-Lewin's not fit, he doesn't play, and that he'd rather change his system and put Richarlison up there on his own to instead of playing him. It's just when a manager would rather jeopardize his own system rather than play a player, then you can tell he's not in the manager's plans whatsoever. Hello to Wormy Spoons. Thanks for joining the stream again, mate. And obviously, let us know, guys, what you're up to this weekend, how your day's been, and let us know your reaction to the team news. What do you think of that team? Not too annoyed with it, but there's definitely holes I want to pick in it. One of those holes is Sigurdsson and Rodriguez in the same team. What do you think of that, Paul? Because we've spoken before about how it just doesn't really work, but what do you think's going to happen? Especially, is it going to be him in the middle, which I don't know. That's James Rodriguez's position.
Yeah, it's going to be in the middle. I think it's obviously a 4-2-3-1, isn't it? With Iwobi and Rodriguez out wide, with Sigurdsson behind Richarlison. It could work. I mean, those players are talented, whatever you think of them. But the 4-2-3-1, I'm not a big fan of that formation. And Ancelotti hasn't really used it much since he's been here, has he? So
Do you not?
I mean,
Sorry to interrupt you there, Paul. Do you not think it could be a 4-3-3 with like the three flat midfielders, Alan, Davis, and Sigurdsson, and then Rodriguez on the left and Iwobi on the right?
maybe, but I think if we're going to play Rodriguez and Iwobi, I think they'd be on opposite sides. Rodriguez has typically played on the right forwards, hasn't he? And Iwobi's left-footed, isn't he? I believe so.
Yeah.
He suits being on the left more than the right. You don't know, but Sigurdsson, whenever he plays in a three-man midfield, he's never any good. The only performances we get out of him these days are when he's in his. No, the only performances we get out of him these days are when he's in his normal number 10 position behind a striker. And even then, he has more poor days than good ones there. But I can't remember ever seeing him play as a traditional centre midfielder and doing well. It was absolutely shocking the other night. Davis and Alan, I hope with Ancelotti's not made the same mistake he made against Burnley, where he's got Alan as the number 6 and Davis as the number 8. They need to be the other way round. Davis needs to be sitting in front of the back four, and Alan needs to be pressing. Whereas against Burnley, they were just completely getting overran because the pair of them didn't know where they were supposed to be. Both of those need to have been sat down today in training or yesterday, whenever, when they were laying out the game plan for this game, and told, right, this is what your job is specifically. You stay in this part of the pitch. You mark this man. You look to get the ball to this player. We can't have the pair of them just taking up each other's positions, which is what we were doing against Burnley, and they would just look lost, the pair of them.
James Brinklead Sigurdsson has played out left in the past. Could be out left. I don't think so, mate. I can't imagine that. Like, that'd just be absolutely dreadful if he did end up out left. I remember he did play there when Koeman brought him in, but no, I think he'll be in the middle. And he best had not be in a flat 3, as we've just spoke about then. Just wanted to bring the question to you, Paul, because it has happened and we do play 4-3-3 sometimes. But I'm not the biggest fan of the 4-2-3-1. I remember I think it was favoured by Marco Silva, was very stubborn with it and he wouldn't stop playing it. But if Sigurdsson's going to do anything, he's got to be in that number 10 position right behind the striker, or he's just not going to do it. And with, to be fair to Sigurdsson, he did I thought anyway, I know a couple of people that don't agree with me, but I thought he played quite well in the cup game. He stepped up and put that penalty in, played a couple of decent passes and laid on Bernard. So, I don't know, it could work, could be a masterstroke, it might not be. We'll have to see what happens. Jordan Pickford's team, Paul, what do you think of that? Obviously, he's been out with his injury, the recurring rib one. Was speaking about it the other day with someone and was saying, would it maybe have been better to leave him out a bit longer and just to make sure that this rib injury doesn't keep coming up with him?
You don't know. The medical staff will have obviously told the manager how fit Pickford is, and I think if Pickford was maybe at like 85, 90%, then Ancelotti probably wouldn't have played him, wouldn't have risked it, because he clearly likes Olsen and he trusts Olsen, even if some supporters don't. And Olsen kept a clean sheet in his last game, didn't he? So the reasons he had reasons to want to keep Olsen in if he thought that was the best thing for the team, but obviously Pickford must be fully fit, and Pickford's going to want to be playing in this final stretch of games now because he's got the Euros on the horizon. So if Pickford's fit, it's a massive call. So if Pickford was fully fit and Ancelotti chose to drop him, then that would be a massive call considering what's on the horizon. And I don't think Ancelotti, he's shown enough faith in Pickford before now that I don't think Ancelotti will drop Pickford at this point in the season unless it was... Well, you don't know, do you? Pickford was absolutely diabolical in the early weeks of the season. He still didn't drop him. So it's clear that Ancelotti will always pick Pickford if he feels he's fit enough, and he must be fit enough for him to pick him tonight because, as I said, he had plenty of reasons to keep faith in Olsen.
I mean, let's hope we just see the same one that we saw in the Anfield game and the games afterwards, because he was good in those games. Ty Hodges says, still 2 keepers on the bench, says it all. Yeah, I think it's Harry Tyler today, and or might have been Virginia, I'm not sure, and Robin Olsen's on the bench. So yeah, it just says a lot about the squad depth, doesn't it? And we'll talk about it a bit later on. We will talk about
who else is on. Sorry, who else is on the bench, Steve? You said Gomez isn't there, so who have we got on it?
Yeah, It's Virginia, Olsen, Josh King, Nielsen Konku, Seamus Coleman, Nathan Broadhead, Kyle John, Price, and Welch. So the three lads who were on the bench against Brighton, they're on the bench again. Seamus Coleman's on the bench. Nielsen Konku's on the bench. I'd love to see us using Konku, to be honest, because he was brilliant in the games he's played. I don't know what's happened to him. I feel like that's another one similar to Josh King, where we just don't see what's gone on in training, because I feel like something's happened with Nkunku.
He's young, isn't he? What is he, 19, 20? I understand
Something like that,
yeah. I understand that fans were really impressed with him and wants to see more, but I've got no problem with the manager kind of holding him back a little bit, because he's going to be here for the long term. You'd think there's plenty of time for him to get minutes, and he's one of the players that we need to get in European competitions so he can play and get time. It's like Anthony Gordon. If we're in Europe next season, there'll be plenty of games that Anthony Gordon and Nkunku, and don't want to jinx it, Gabaman could maybe play in and get some minutes under the belt and feel like the proper Everton players and the part of the first team. So Nkunku, I've liked him as well, but I don't blame Ancelotti for not really using him much since the turn of the year. I mean, he has got Luca Dean in front of him, and Luca Dean's been fit for most of the season. So I don't blame. But I think we'll see more of Nkunku next season, even if we don't get in Europe. I think after a year of being at the club, and with a proper pre-season under him, like he'll get this summer, I think if anything happens to Dean next season, then Ancelotti will feel more comfortable just putting Nkunku in to replace him rather than going free at the back or playing wing backs as he's done.
Ty Hodges says Niels was playing 40 of French football last season. Not surprised he isn't seeing the field, which is a good point. And you got to be patient with these players, and he is young. So yeah, I think maybe we'll see him again before the end of the season, but it looks like for now he's gonna just sit out on the bench and wait his turn, really. Gonna talk about them, Paul. Unfortunately, the Brighton and Palace games, 2 draws, 2 points out of what should have been 6, really, shouldn't it? If you're thinking about where we want to be, if we're gonna be fighting up there, well, if we want Europe, we needed 6 points there. I think we only got 2. Brighton and Palace. Yeah, I haven't spoke to you since them. I want to know what you made of them, starting off with Palace. I didn't see any of the Palace game. I did watch the Brighton game, unfortunately. It was like, it was an absolute slog, that one. But what did you make of them? Because I think that's probably as bad as our season's got in terms of injuries and also performance-wise, because it was just dreadful on Monday night, I thought.
The Palace game, I think, was just down to bad in-game management from Ancelotti. I think he had to hold his hands up for that one, because I know it's not his fault that he was missing all the chances and their goalkeeper was having a worldie. A lot of that had a lot to do with the fact that we didn't win the game. That Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo, pair of them. But yeah, I thought the win was there. The win was there for us. All we had to do was just see the game out and be sensible. And I think his decision to throw Gabaman on when he did and take James Rodriguez off, I just thought it was really, really soft. Gabaman had been out for 2 years essentially. He didn't have any chemistry with his teammates even before he got his injury. He played 1 game or 1.5 games before he got injured, so it's not like he even knows when he gets on the pitch. He's got these sort of relationships that he can rekindle. He knows what to do when he's on the pitch, when he's with Coleman, when he's on the pitch with Mina, when he's on the pitch with Davis, and you can sort of just kind of drop back into these partnerships that get developed over time. Gabaman didn't have any of that. Gabaman is essentially a new signing still, because he's already played so much, and when he's coming off a 2-year injury, and he's clearly that far off the pace, and the game was in the situation it was 1-0 with 10 minutes to go, and Palace were clearly had not to lose and were just throwing everything at us. I just think throwing on a player who was in the state that Gabaman was in wasn't a very clever idea. I think we just needed to keep it simple and throw on someone like I can't remember his name now, just someone who would win us free kicks and hold the ball up, whereas Gabaman looked like he was a bit too eager at times, and he lost possession cheaply. But I don't hold that against the lad himself. I just think that was Ancelotti maybe letting his heart rule his head. He wanted to get Gabaman on the pitch so the lad could experience what it was like being a Goodison, getting on, probably good for his mental health to be back on the grass, kicking the ball, joining in with teammates, feeling like he's a football again after so long. But I just think he should have let his head rule his heart there and think, no, this is not the time or the place to reintroduce this lad.
Yeah,
The
there's
Brighton
definitely
game,
a place in the time, isn't there?
yeah. If we were 2 or 3-0 up with 5 minutes left, then yeah, I wouldn't have had a problem with that. But 1-0 up when you're under pressure and a lot of the team, your teammates around you, are really tired and they're coming on strong. It just wasn't the time to throw in a player who was coming back off such a long layoff and is so new to the system and so new to his teammates at the same time. So that was my thoughts on the Palace game. It was just felt like 2 points completely thrown away. And the Brighton game, it felt like 2 points we didn't even want, essentially, because I know we had injuries and I don't blame that one on Ancelotti. What else could he do apart from set up the way he did, which was just go as defensive as he possibly could, look to keep Brighton out and hope that we could just maybe nick one off a set piece or a counter or something. I put that one firmly on the players. The players themselves were just not interested enough, apart from maybe 1 or 2 of them. I thought Coleman did well against Brighton. I thought Rodriguez put a great shift in. And I can't remember now. I think Godfrey as well. Godfrey never lets you down, does he? So there were a few players
Godfrey
who were okay.
Godfrey was all right, but I think Rodriguez was class. I think he had that extra yard over everyone else, which he always does, doesn't he? You can always count on him to bring an extra yard of quality to every game he plays in. And I agree with you. I thought Coleman put a shift in.
Yeah, but I was speaking to James on the post match on Monday night, and we agreed when we said there was just certain players out there who just weren't bothered. Like that game was massive for our season and massive to us getting in Europe, and a lot of those players showed that they didn't care enough to get us in Europe because they didn't try hard. They didn't try hard enough to go forward and get a goal. I know, as I said, it wasn't helped. It's like Richarlison didn't get enough support, and Rodriguez couldn't do everything by himself. But there were players like Iwobi who came on and just stumped the gaff out for half an hour. There was players like Sigurdsson who just did his disappearing act in the game. There was Richarlison, who I don't think was.
He didn't cover himself in glory, did he?
No, he wasn't causing enough problems for the defenders he was up against. He was kind of just wandering around aimlessly at times, hoping to run onto something that was never coming. So this Brighton game was just really, really frustrating because I thought the players their attitude was terrible. Whereas the Palace game, I just thought it was just too many players squandering chances and the manager making a wrong decision at a crucial time.
Yeah. Make sure you leaving a like on the stream, guys. If you're in the stream watching and you haven't liked, make sure you hit the big thumbs up button underneath the stream. It does help the channel out. And of course, get your questions in, get your comments in. Let us know what you think of the team. Give us your score predictions, anything like that. Just leave some nice comments for me and Paul to answer, and we'll work our way through them. And yeah, as I said, let us know how you are, what you've got planned for your weekend, and how you're feeling about tonight's game. We mentioned before about the Euros, which I haven't really put a thought to yet. I know, like in the media, it's like a massive thing, and everything's about the Euros, and for the 6 months leading up to it. Anytime an England player plays well, he seems to be right to throw him back into the limelight, and it just made me question the other night. Watching the City Dortmund game, and when you're watching the likes of Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, and even like Erling Haaland or Kylian Mbappe in the other games in the Champions League. I want to talk a bit about Harry Kane, because obviously he's in the Tottenham team tonight to face Everton. I just want to get your opinion on him, Paul, because you from what I've seen of your tweets and what your opinions that you give, you have like really strong opinions on like the likes of Mbappe and Haaland. And I don't know if do you think Harry Kane is up there in that bracket, or do you think he sort of fell away over the last couple of years? And it's just making me wonder, because every time we come up against them, he does seem to score against us, and he a cup. I just want to know your opinions on him, really.
Yeah, we're one of his favourite teams, aren't we? Every striker's got a team that he just knows he's always going to score against, no matter what his form is beforehand. We're that for Harry Kane, aren't we? Kane's a brilliant player. For me, he's the best English centre forward since probably Alan Shearer. Old-fashioned number 9.
Yeah.
Shearer, yeah. Wayne Rooney wasn't really an old-fashioned number 9 in his pomp, was he? And Michael Owen was electric for a while, but he didn't really last it. It was only 3 or 4 seasons that he was top level for. So Harry Kane's, for me, the best England number 9 for 20 years easily. And he's probably the best striker in Tottenham's history. Other than the only one who could come close to him is Jimmy Greaves. Is he the one who's got the record that Kane's looking to break? I think it is. But basically,
I think so.
Kane's about 40, 50 goals away from getting the all-time goal scorer record for Tottenham, which is, a lot of people are saying that's probably the only thing that's keeping him at the club for the time being, the fact that he wants to break that record. And if he wasn't keen on breaking that record, he probably would have left by now. I don't think he is going to leave Tottenham, even if he wants to, because the fact of the matter is he's locked into a long-term deal that he signed. And the way the situation is at the moment in the Wales, the financial market with the COVID, no team's going to pay the money to get him out of his deal. They're going to have to. He's not going for less than 150 million, I don't think, because Daniel Levy does not sell cheap, mate, and he's not going to sell Tottenham's icon, his crown jewel, for probably less than world record money. If Harry Kane was 25, then it would probably mean a world record transfer fee to get him out of Tottenham. But the fact that he's maybe 28, 29, and he's had some injuries has probably whacked a couple of tens of millions off his fee. But he's still going to go for an astronomical amount if he leaves at all.
Yeah,
and I don't see what club is out there that's going to pay the money apart from maybe United.
I think when you got the likes of, it's just, I think he's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong, but do I think his all-round game constitutes to the amount of money that, with his age as well, the amount of money, that amount of money? I don't know. I think there's question marks around it, because you can understand like an Mbappe or a Haaland who, when you're buying them, you're not just buying the player, you're buying the brand, and you're getting that star-studded player who's got everything about their game. He's young, stuff like that. But is Harry Kane, as much as I love these old-fashioned strikers, is he worth that?
He's only worth as much as a team's willing to pay for him. He could be worth that to the right side, because him going to a United could be the player that wins them the title again finally. And if he went to United and won them the title, then it doesn't matter what amount of money they spent on him, they'll feel like it was worth it. But that's the thing I'm saying. I don't see any team out there that is probably going to be able to pay the money that Daniel Levy's going to want for him. Man City could, but they seem like they want to get Haaland, or they're exiting that basket. Real Madrid's probably the same, and they're not spending as much as they used to. Barcelona are absolutely skint. We know that. They haven't got a pot to pee in. They're looking to get
Real Madrid, aren't they?
Yeah, Real Madrid, as I just mentioned, they're not rolling in the money anymore at the moment. They're not really making big Galactico signings much at this point in time. Bayern Munich, no. They've got Lewandowski, even if they could afford him. Why would they want Harry Kane when they've got probably a better version of Harry Kane and Lewandowski? Who else? PSG, no. Got Mbappe.
No. Obviously mentioned Bayern and stuff like that, but
Chelsea,
just, I don't know.
Chelsea, I think maybe if Abramovich set his heart on him, then I think once Abramovich sets his heart on a sign, and then Chelsea usually get them no matter how much it costs. We've seen that in the past, haven't we? But don't know. I think Chelsea want to go young, don't they? They brought in all those new players last summer who are probably going to go and have really good careers in the Premier League. It's just taking them a bit of time to gel, and they look like they've got a manager now who's going to bring out the best in them. So I don't realistically see Chelsea either. And who else is there? Liverpool? No, don't be stupid. No team in Italy could afford him. Really?
It's just a weird one. It just is, because when I look at him, I just think he's not going to have 5 or 6 teams throwing absolutely astronomical sums of money at him, and it makes me wonder if, you can question about all you like if Tottenham's the right place for him, but I think he will move. I don't think he's going to be a one club man unless he leaves it a couple more seasons. If he doesn't move this summer, I think he'll stay at Tottenham. I don't think he'll move, because
I think he will stay at Tottenham. I think he'll stay at Tottenham for now. He probably will leave, but he'll probably leave in 2 or 3 years when his contract's run down and he's past his best. And it's whether the same clubs would come in for him, and if they do, if they'd offer him the same deal that they'd be offering if they could get him now. Because
I think he wouldn't, would he? That's the thing.
As I've just said, he's not moving this summer because of the COVID situation. Clubs are not looking to spend massive money on players, or at least none of the ones we've just mentioned. And who else is there out there who could realistically get him?
Exactly.
I don't really see anyone. I think the only club that I see who I think, you know what, that is maybe half realistic is United. If United push the boat out for him, I could see it happening. But you don't know. There's to the Glazers, to Woodward, does Solskjaer, whoever makes the decisions over at United, because we know it's a basket case of a club when it comes to transfers. Is he their number one transfer target? He could be, but he might not be. And if he's not, then I don't see where else there is for him, because City want Haaland. Real Madrid and Barca are out of the question because of the money problems. Juve and teams like that have got Ronaldo, and they're keeping Ronaldo, and they're not going to have both of them. And as we've said, Bayern Munich have already got a world-class number 9 anyway. So when you look at it, you think, what actually big super clubs are there left that he could actually go to if he was able to get out of Tottenham this summer? I don't think he will. I just think he'll stay at Tottenham, run his contract down a few more years, and maybe when he's in his 30s, early 30s, he might just move on to... Maybe he will move on to one of these super clubs, but when he's past his prime, and he might pick up a few late trophies in his career, go to a team where he's not the main man.
He might end up at a team. Yeah, he might do something like Aaron Ramsey or something like that. He might run his contract down and then move somewhere like that, like Juventus, or maybe somewhere in another team in Italy or something like that, just to pad his stats a little bit more and try a different type of football.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's just one of those players. I can't see him playing for anyone else but Tottenham. It's just a weird one, and you forget how long he's been in the game, because I was watching United last night, and Soldado was playing for Granada, and they mentioned when they kicked off, they said this is Roberto Soldado's. It was on this day or something like that. On this day 7 years ago, Soldado got the winner for Tottenham at Old Trafford. He was brought off in the 85th minute and replaced by Harry Kane in his first season with Tottenham. And you can't argue that over the past 7 or so seasons, he's been a fantastic player. And time moves extremely fast in football, doesn't it? It's getting scary, Paul. It seems like the time's going quicker and quicker, and you can see why clubs why players are eager to move their careers on as quick as they can now, because that's absolutely flown by. I still think of him as a 23, 24-year-old.
I do, mate. It still feels like he only broke onto the scene like 2 or 3 seasons ago, but he's actually been here 7 or 8, as you said. Now, you keep thinking he's like Tottenham's Wayne Rooney, don't you? Like he came onto the scene when he was 18 or 19, and he was great straight away, but he was actually a little bit older. He was
at Norwich and Leicester, wasn't he?
He had a few loans, didn't he, where he didn't really do anything, and that's why he sort of, his rise kind of just took so many people by surprise. He was one of these strikers who no one really thought much of, not even his youth coaches didn't think he'd ever go on have the career he's got. It just seemed like he went world class overnight. But
because I've always thought, like, if a player reaches 22, 23 and he hasn't done it yet, I think that's it. I think if the level's a little bit too high for them. I think that's the case now.
Pardon. That's true a lot of the time, but some players just are late bloomers. We know that, and it's probably a lesson to us as football fans that just because a player doesn't rip it up in the late teens or the early 20s, doesn't mean that you should just assume that they can't ever go on to become really, really good players. Some players don't hit the peak until they're 28, 29, especially players who are like defenders or midfielders. Their best footballers always played the second half of their careers, and
you can cite like Koulibaly as one of them. You can probably see Koulibaly, who's in his early 30s now, isn't he? And he's really been in his best form the last few years. I'm trying to think of some other players who are similar to that. But there will be other ones. Make sure you're leaving your likes in the stream, guys. If you're in the stream and you haven't liked it already, make sure you do that. And always, as always, leave your comments in. Me and Paul will try and answer them. Leave any comments or questions you've got about tonight's game, and we will try and answer them. James Brinkley says, always fancied Kane to United. Myself, don't know why, just always fancied it happening. It seems like one of the ones that could happen, whereas I can't see him playing abroad. I think his play style just perfectly matches the Premier League as well. He's perfectly used to the physicality of it. And Unknown says Kane going to City. That'll be an interesting one, because obviously Aguero's on the move, isn't he, in the summer? But we'll see what happens. It'll be an interesting one. Talking of transfers, Paul, want to mention the news that's come out yesterday in The Guardian. This one is, and we tweeted the link. I'm just going off the Guardian's article here. Headline is Everton's Ancelotti backs Gbamin to shine and says striker signing unlikely. I mentioned it a little bit about the when we talked about Josh King earlier, but wanted to go through it with you and see what you think. Carlo Ancelotti's claimed as central midfielder and striker are not transfer priorities for Everton this summer because the club trust John-Philip Gbamin and PSG have yet to make a permanent move for Moise Kean. So what do you think, basically? Because I think we definitely need a midfielder. I think we need to try and shift the likes of Gomez and stuff like that, because as much as I like Gomez's attitude and stuff like that, and people can argue that he's worth keeping around for the Europa League and stuff like that, maybe. But I just think his quality he's just lost all his quality. I haven't seen him have a good game for Everton in a long, long time. So yeah, what do you think
about what Ancelotti said in the Guardian about how we're not going to really be looking for a striker or a midfielder?
Yeah.
What are people really expecting to say? He's not going to come out and say, "Yeah, we're desperate for a midfielder and a striker," because it's just going to have us. The team we look to buy off in the summer is just going to have us over a barrel, aren't they? So I don't believe that myself. I especially don't believe him when he says we're not going to look for a striker. I touched on it earlier on. He also said, didn't he, that as far as he's concerned, Moise Kean's coming back next season, and he's going to be part of our team and a really important player for us. And that's how it is, whether he likes it or not, or whether PSG like it or not. He's saying that basically to tell PSG, if you want to sign this lad, you're going to have to come and really stump up the cash for him, otherwise you're not having him. It doesn't matter how much Moise Kean might kick and scream saying he wants to move. He's not getting the move unless you come to us and offer us a fee that we think is acceptable for him. We're not going to sell him on the cheap just because he's out in the media saying how much he loves playing for Paris Saint-Germain and how much he loves Pochettino, which I think's good. It just shows PSG we're not going to be taken for mugs, are we? And we can forget any hopes of maybe getting him on a deal where, I don't know, they might want to try and get him on loan again, or they might want to pay us in installments for him. And I think it's us essentially saying to them, no, if we do this deal, we're doing this deal on our terms, or the lad's coming back and he's playing here. So that's what I believe that is. I believe that Moise Kean is going to Paris Saint-Germain next season on a permanent, and we're just looking to get as much money as we possibly can without showing our hand to all the clubs who we're probably going to be looking to spend that money on when we go for their players.
Yeah, good question from Ty there. Is a 4-2-4 viable in the Premier League? We could bring in another striker and run one alongside DCL. What do you think? Because I think I never thought a formation like that with two midfielders would ever work in the Premier League.
It's because the top teams in the Premier League haven't played two centre midfielders for a long time. They've always played three, haven't they, with a number 6. The days of like Roy Keane and Scholes and Gerrard and Hamann and they're gone essentially, aren't they? Vieira and whoever was next to him at Arsenal. It probably could still work, but you'd have to get two absolute whale beater centre mids like an N'Golo Kante and then someone next to him. You couldn't do it with sort of mediocre or above average midfielders because you couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it with Gylfi Sigurdsson and Andre Gomez, I'll tell you that.
No, you'd need two midfielders who can do the job of 3, like the way Kante or Idrissa Gana Gueye are a player who can do the job of 1 when you just watch them. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility. You could do it, but there's a reason no teams do it, because you need to get two absolute whale beater midfielders and hope you don't get injured, and you're going to have really, really good replacements. So what team can you name that's got 3 or 4 absolute whale-class midfielders who can always play two central mids and not have a drop-off in quality? I can't think of any, at least not in this
Probably
league.
Real Madrid. I'd say Real Madrid, probably Kroos and Modric.
Yeah, probably, but they're getting up there in age, aren't they? And it's when they get injured, they have to drop that formation and change. And
yeah, it makes you realise like how weird a season that was when Leicester won the league, because they played Danny Drinkwater and N'Golo Kante in a 4-4-2 and they were fantastic. And it's strange because I just don't think you'd get away with that now.
As I said, Kante is one of those very few players who is good enough to hold his own in a system like that. And he had a player in Danny Drinkwater next to him who was average but had the season of his life, like so many of those Leicester players did that season and got no injuries. So
yeah,
it was nice to see that, because I think a lot of English football fans, I think deep down do like a 4-4-2 because it's so traditional, and so many of the great teams from the 70s and 80s and the 90s had the 4-4-2. It's kind of just seen as the quintessential English system, isn't it? a good old-fashioned 4-4-2. And I wouldn't be against us trying it in certain games. We know Ancelotti certainly likes it and he plays it when he can, but whether it's our best formation when we've got all our best players available, I still think we're better going with a 4-3-3 myself.
I was on Tobes' channel yesterday talking about the game with Mike from the Blue Boys Network, and we were talking a little bit about Ancelotti and Mourinho, because obviously they're two really similar managers. Want to know where you weigh in on it, Paul? Because watching Tottenham this season, I often think that I just think Mourinho's tactics have gone a bit stale, and that is he's a bit too stubborn to really change it. And this was the argument I gave to the Tottenham lads, was that I feel like Ancelotti is better because he's still revolutionising with the time and still moving. And when working with what he's got, he's much better. And I said that I think if we'd have took Mourinho, then I think we'd be down by the relegation places. And I think if Tottenham had Ancelotti, I think they'd be safely in the Champions League. But what do you think?
You don't know. That's swings and roundabouts, that, isn't it? Or hypotheticals, rather. I mean, I still believe personally, maybe I'm in the minority now, that I think that Mourinho is still a manager who's capable of winning trophies. I just think that Tottenham team he's got, they're not the right characters. They haven't got the right mentality to play the style of football that Mourinho uses when he's successful. He needs some absolute arseholes in his team, like real dogs, like players who will sort of, I don't want to say cheat, but they will do anything to win.
Snazzy little players. He needs them types.
They don't care about being popular. They don't care about the media celebrating them and talking about how great they are and saying they're going down as the all-time best version of that, the best club team in that club's history. When he's won trophies at Chelsea, he was not popular with the media. They hated him, saying, "Oh, we bought all these players. Or the bought success. They're just the gate crashing the traditional hierarchy of Arsenal and United and Liverpool." He didn't get no respect at Chelsea, really, at least not while he was there. When we got it afterwards, he got no respect in Spain when he was with Real Madrid, when he had similar players again. When he was at Chelsea, he had the likes of Makaleli, he had the likes of Ballack, he had the likes of William Gallas and players like that, and Petr Cech and Didier Drogba. They were just great players, but they could get down and dirty and do the dark arts when they needed to. At Real Madrid, he had the likes of Benzema and Sergio Ramos and Pepe, the centre half, just real dogs who don't mind kicking lumps out of people and getting really ugly. And he got slated in Spain as well, even when he was winning, by the Spanish press, saying this is not Real Madrid's DNA. We don't like this. And when he went, and when he went, I remember that the last title he won with Chelsea in 2015, he was getting slated in that season as well, even when they were top of the league with Costa and Fabregas, and they were playing some really nice
unbelievable
football. They used to get chanted at them, boring Chelsea. I remember it, and I remember he went mad in a press conference once, saying, he said to all the press guys, "Why do you always write about my team's boring? My team's winning the league." He said, "Surely it's more boring when you're not challenging for anything like Arsenal." It was one of these digs he was getting in at Wenger because people were still celebrating Arsenal and Wenger as playing really good, entertaining football. Yeah, Wenger and Arsenal finishing fourth, whatever they were at the time, and playing really entertaining football. And Mourinho was like, "Well, we're winning leagues and we're going on long unbeaten runs." I think they conceded very few goals as well. They kept that season. I think they kept one of the most clean sheets that any title winning team had won since his previous Chelsea team. And he was going mad, saying, "Why don't you guys ever give me respect?" And then it happened again when he went to United. He's still the most successful United manager post Ferguson, but no one was willing to give him any praise for it, really. Even though he won trophies.
I don't know if it's just the Tottenham thing. There's people talk about they don't think he was great with United, but of course he did win the Europa League with them. I think he won the FA Cup as well, didn't he?
The League Cup.
I'm not sure. The League Cup, that was it. Sorry, I think the FA Cup was Van Gaal, wasn't it? But it's this anti-football shaming again, Paul. I can't stand the phrase anti-football. I just think it's a joke. I think if you win football matches, I don't care how you play. I think there's an art to winning trophies and winning football matches, especially when you haven't won one for as long as we have. There's an appreciation to winning by any means necessary. And I think maybe at Tottenham, he might have given into that pressure a little bit, and although he has got players that aren't playing for him, I'm looking at the team now. It's still really strong, but he has dropped Davinson Sanchez, who's been awful for them. And I think when I was talking to the Tottenham fans yesterday, they were saying that Sanchez starts, then it's automatically going to be a tough evening for Tottenham. But they've got Lloris in goal, Aurier, Alderweireld, Rodon, Dyer, Reguilon, so it looks like a back five. Højbjerg and Sissoko and Ndombele with Son and Kane up front. So it's like a 5-3-2. Then that midfield of Højbjerg, Sissoko and Ndombele is particularly dangerous against ours, I think. I don't know if Allen and Davis can really deal with them.
If they're playing the right way round, like I touched on earlier on, if we have Davis as the defensive midfielder in front of the back four and Allen being the presser in front of him, then I think we could be okay. But if we do it the other way around, like we did against Burnley, where it's Davis kind of running around trying to press, not really knowing what he's doing, and Allen trying to sit in front of the back four, but having to mark about 3 players who were coming at him, and I think we could be in trouble. But just going back onto the Mourinho thing, I don't think he's going to be at Tottenham much longer, because Mourinho's never been a manager who gets the most out of the least, is he? As I said, he's not a manager who can put his arm around an average or a poor player and make that player start performing and feeling like he's a big deal and that he belongs. He's not that type of fella, whereas Klopp, whether you like him or don't, is definitely that type of manager, and Guardiola's that type of manager, and Ancelotti's that type of manager, and you'd have to say David Moyes as well. He certainly was that manager at Everton for a lot of years, and looks like he's rediscovered that now at West Ham. So I just think the in fashion thing for managers at the moment is for a manager to kind of be a big brother, father figure to managers, and that's not what Mourinho is. Mourinho is very much a boss, isn't he? He's not your friend. He's not your mentor. Yeah, he's not your life coach. Yeah. He's your boss, and that's why he's not. He
reminds me of a bit like the Don in a gangster film, where is that if you're below a certain level in the family, you don't speak to him, and he's not someone who you can just go and speak to. You've sort of got your underbosses who you'd speak to instead of him.
Yeah, it doesn't work in England that anymore. I think if he went back to Italy, it would work, because that's what...
Ronald Koeman tried it, and that was awful. Remember Koeman used to do that with us, didn't he?
Yeah, it doesn't work in England anymore, with a lot of even the younger players who are not near the first team getting good money now and living certain lifestyles and having certain mentalities. Just sort of that, you do whatever I tell you to do, whether you like it or not, or whether you understand it or not, just do it. It just doesn't seem to work anymore. Whereas I think in Italy, places like that, it probably does still work to an extent. That's why Conte's having the success over in Italy. That's why Sarri was so good in Italy. And Sarri said that himself. Said when he came to England, he couldn't believe just the mentality of English players compared to the Italian players he was used to over in Serie A. He said in Italy, players for them, all they cared about was just getting on the pitch and playing. They'd do anything a manager told them to do because they were just grateful to be there. Whereas in England, he said, you told the players to do something and he didn't like it or he didn't understand. He kind of give you he said he got the vibe that the player was thinking, was slagging him off in his head. Obviously no player ever said anything to his face, but Sarri, I've heard an interview, said he knew there were times at Chelsea when he was telling these players to do things and this player was thinking in his head, why should I do what you tell me to do? And it happened clearly with Kepa, didn't it? Kepa wouldn't come off the pitch. So that's why I think if Mourinho went back to Italy, where players would just take what he says as gospel more than they do here, he could probably have success. And I think that's probably where Mourinho's going to end up when he finishes at Tottenham, whether it's the end of this season or whether it's a few months into next season. I think he'll probably end up back in Italy and maybe have a bit of a swan song to his career, whether he gets the Juventus job, because Pirlo's not going to last there, is he? Whether he gets Juventus, whether he goes back to Inter Milan or AC Milan or Roma or whatever. I think Mourinho's still got one more big club or big-ish club left in him, and maybe a couple more trophies before the curtain comes down on his career.
I think if he wants to prolong his career a little bit further and take another job, I think he just have to move to somewhere like Italy. Talking of Italian managers in Chelsea, I just want to shout out Antonio Conte, really, because I thought, as a Chelsea manager, I thought he was extremely underrated. I don't know what you think. Just while we were on the topic there of that Chelsea team, because they were awful in 2015-16 and he finished in the bottom half, I think, didn't he? And they were rubbish in Mourinho's last season. But I think that was that 5-3-2 team that with Hazard and Costa and Victor Moses and stuff like that. I think that's one of the most underrated Premier League winning sides of all time. I think it doesn't get anywhere near enough credit that it does. But just moving on, just wanted to mention it there. You talking about Conte and Sarri and stuff like that. Injuries for us have been massive this season. Want to particularly focus on two, Yerry Mina and Abdoulaye Doucouré. I love Mina, and I think he's a brilliant player, of course, but he did go off injured in that Brighton game. And Abdoulaye Doucouré is obviously a massive miss in a game like this as well. When you don't want to get overrun in midfield, but most of the time when he's not in the team, we do. So, how big a miss are those two for you, Paul? With the likes of Godfrey and Keane coming in, do you think Mina is as big as a miss as it would have been last season or something like that, or do you think centre backs aren't the main priority, getting injured? And because we have got quite a few now.
I rate Mina as well. I know not everyone does, but I'm very much in the Yerry Mina has more good games than bad games. I don't know whether he belongs in our strongest 11, whether a partnership between him and Keane is better than a partnership between Keane and Godfrey or Keane and Holgate. I'm not sure. I mean, I'd like to keep him around, Mina, because I know he's getting lent moves away, but it was unfortunate him getting against.
When you think of key players, because we'll be in the Europa League, I think he's the perfect example. He's the perfect example because not only is he another body, he's also got a lot of quality. Whereas someone like Andre Gomez, as I mentioned, just has lost most of his quality now after his bad injury. But with the likes of Mina, you can bring him in and rely on him to pop up with a goal or put a good performance in, or usher the back line well. And I think probably that's the only position on the pitch where we've got a player who's maybe not first choice, but can come in and be as good as the ones before him, as Yerry Mina. Because if we lose Michael Keane, I think Yerry Mina is just as good as him. I know that's quite a controversial thing, or maybe some people will say, but I think that's the only position that we don't really have to worry about.
It's the only position in the squad, apart from maybe arguably goalkeeper, because I know people are split on their opinions on the goalkeepers as well. But it's probably the only place in the squad where we've got depth, as you said. So him getting injured was unfortunate, but is him not playing between now and the end of the season going to make a massive difference to where we finish? Probably not, to be honest. I trust the defenders we've got, because I still rate Holgate, even though people have gone off him this season. I still think Holgate is capable of being a very, very, very good centre-half. Godfrey, everyone's just in love with, and Michael Keane probably it's his best form of his career over the last year and a half, or especially over the last 12 months when Ancelotti's got here. He looks like he's finally put the hot and cold aspects of his performances behind him. He used to blow so hot and cold, didn't he? Where it seems like he only has maybe one bad game every 10 or 15, which is absolutely acceptable, I think. So Mina, I like Mina, and I definitely want us to keep him unless we can get an absolute proven upgrade like a Koulibaly would be. But I wouldn't just look to move Mina out like we did with the likes of Funes Mori and Ashley Williams. No, I think Mina's definitely got something to add to this team. But we can probably cope without between now and the end of the season because we've got the depth. Doucouré is the massive miss, isn't he? Because we saw this last season. We were crying out for a player like Doucouré, just a destroyer in midfield who would put himself about, bring the ball forward, join in the attacks, get back and defend when he needed to, win the battles in midfield. That was what we were lacking so evidently last season, and that's what we've been lacking evidently in the final run of this season, isn't it? And if we don't get Europe, it will be because we don't have him in the team. Most likely, it's a big black hole in midfield, isn't it? And we need to sign another midfielder.
Yeah, it was an extreme slice of bad luck, wasn't it?
We need to sign another player into Doucouré's mould to come in and basically be his understudy next season. Now, clearly Ancelotti wants to give Gbamin all the chances that he can. I personally, whether Gbamin's good, bad, or mediocre, I've just in my head accepted now that it's not really going to ever happen for him here. He just can't seem to shake the injuries, so I don't think we should be planning any future for him, really. If he can come back and do something, it's just a bonus, but we shouldn't be expecting it. But we definitely need to be signing another midfielder who is big and strong and athletic in the Doucouré mould. I don't want someone to come in and just play pretty passes. We've got that already in Davis, and Doucouré himself can pass the ball a bit. And Andre Gomez, as I know you were saying, he's lost all his quality, but we don't need a midfielder to come in and just be a creator. We've got enough creators or supposed creators. We need someone to just come in and be an athlete now and win tackles and put himself about. And the only player we've got who can do that at the moment, really, who can stay fit long term, is Toffee. We need another player just like that, because when Toffee's injured, we've seen it's like chopping off one of our arms, isn't it?
Unbelievably, they've just shown the table, and we can go a point behind Liverpool with a win tonight. We can jump over Tottenham and go a point behind Liverpool. So it's just unbelievable that, with the amount of points we've dropped. But teams are coming out, guys. Thank you very much for watching the stream tonight. Join us after the game for the post match. We'll be talking about it a bit more. I don't know about you, Paul, because I know we're both quite local to the ground, but it's bad rain at Goodison. But I've just looked out my window then, and it's nice and sunny, so that's a bit confusing.
It's sunny here as well. It's probably just a little rain, sun shower there, clouds. I'm in Bizzackley, which is about 10 minutes drive away down Queen's Drive. So yeah, hopefully the rain stays off, because I'm looking to go for a walk tonight after the game and after our post match. So.
Yeah, and try and boil it off. Hopefully it's a good result, and your walk will be spent thinking about how nice them 3 points were. But thank you very much for watching the stream, guys. If you haven't liked already, make sure you like it. If you're in the stream now and you have not liked the stream, just hit the thumbs up button. It's really not hard, doesn't cost anything. And yeah, hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you after the stream.